First Contact with Joshua Pope.
All right, welcome everybody. Welcome back to First Contact Radio. This is my first week getting back after a pretty long break, 8 weeks. But I'm back now. I'm going to be doing the show Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. right here, firstcontactradio.com, or over here at Blog Talk Radio. It's a live call-in show, so during the show, if you feel like you want to call in and discuss what's going on in the world, please do so. The call-in number is 347-989-1234. The whole purpose of this is kind of to see if we can stimulate some sort of conversation about what's going on in the world. There really seems that it's needed, and, you know, that's the whole point. In the meantime, I'm just going to move through what's kind of happening out in the world on a daily basis so we can kind of get a perspective of where we are, because that's the way I see this life experience right now. See, we can look at the world and we can see a lot of chaos if we look at it up close. But if we step back a little bit further, we can see it from a different way. We see something different happening. And if we can get in touch with what is that behind the scenes energy that is driving all things, that higher aspect of ourselves, we then start to change the situation. And the situation that's going on in the world is going on in the world because it's also a reflection of what's going on with us. And so that's why we have and how this relationship with the world works, okay? We are living, breathing beings living in this world upon a being that is living and breathing just like we are, an environment of energy that is living and breathing as well, and so on and so on. And just because we don't always see these various levels of energies that are out there beyond our vision or hearing doesn't mean they don't exist. And so as we go through these times, if we kind of step back, we can kind of see the universe giving us some clues of what's going on if we really pay attention. So, yesterday I was talking about the numerology. And, yesterday, numerology basically is if you look at the day, you take, and the calendar that we're all have agreed upon using is the Gregorian calendar. And if we look at the number system following there, and we add up the year, the month, and the day, it can kind of give us a clue to an energetic path that, we could be following. And so if we look at it, we start to see synchronicities. And so I think this is, something that's really important to understanding the energy of the world in which we live. So numbers, energy moves, and numbers represent energy. And as we move forth, these numbers then translate into sounds and colors and other images. And then we assign them values with names and astrological signs, so on and so forth, until there's this whole language that has started off at one spectrum and has gone all the way down to another level of understanding. And so what we're able to do is if we look carefully at the numbers, those energies, how they're representing themselves around us, it starts to make sense in the same way that when someone's looking at things like stock market figures or mathematical figures, things start to make sense because the universe does work in a very mathematical way, a very organized way. As much as there's chaos, there's organization. So yesterday we had this 22, which was telling us that there was a balancing point there. We had come full circle, 22 being a number of completion because the Hebrew alphabet, 22 letters, all kind of connects together. The full sequence and many things of astrological and Kabbalistic natures are all tied to that number 22 Hebrew system. And there's a lot of biblical implications that it ties to and so on. So basically, the bottom line, a signifies a completion, a coming around full circle from where we started. The sun, right now, we're dealing with his Gemini, so we're dealing with a lot of mental energy. Look at the people around you, a lot of thinking going on, a lot of processing. And one thing that happens with thinking is we sometimes think a lot and go inside of ourselves, or we sometimes be very extroverted and we push that thinking outwards. And so it's a very interesting time where people are throwing their ideas around. And then we have the moon sign, which is still in Pisces, and Pisces is that emotional sign. It's the emotional path that we have to look at, or the emotional lesson, because right now there's a lot of emotions in the world. And Pisces, if we look at the tarot card of that, is the tarot card of the moon, which is the card, the path, going all the way from what we know into what we don't know. And so here we are. We're at a place right now where if we go forward in the wrong direction, or if we don't move forward as we might need to and continue what we're doing, things could get even more hectic. So we have some choices, and our emotions, are the things that we need to really be aware of, because those emotions right now are the underlying influence that's kind of driving some of the thoughts, the words, the things that are being said. So we need to make sure we're thinking clearly with these times. So today we've progressed from the 23. We've progressed now the number today, numerology 23, which goes to a 5. 2 and 3 is 5. Today's now a number that deals with more uncertainty. 5 is the number also of, in Tarot, it's the Hierophant, which is the spiritual teacher. But if you look at the tree of life, it is the sphere of Mars, of that aggression energy, and it's leading to the side of the tree of life where there's more severity going on. So from an energetic standpoint, we want to not get too aggressive, because there's that stimulus to do so around us. Okay, so these are just some ways I think that might be helpful if we just sort of look at the world, step back, because we can really read the patterns of life if we just pay attention. All right, so that's my whole little esoteric spiel for the moment. I just think it's very important that we kind of, take a glance from time to time. I don't believe that it's something that we should let run our lives. However, I also don't think that we should be afraid to look at what is there, because it's really nothing more than a set of, psychological expressions that people have and categorized according to the times when they were born. And there is a lot of interesting significance to that. So, the point being, we need to look past is going on here in this physical world, that there is something more out there. And if we don't pay attention to what's beyond this world, then we're kind of stuck. And we might not understand if there's something else that's pushing us along. So that's why it's so important to look at our energy. Look at the energy. Everything's energy around us. And how are we relating to it? Because that then affects how the world is relating back to us. So right now, the big thing that we're all dealing with and looking at is this assassination attempt that took place 2 days ago. And it truly was an assassination attempt. I know there are some attempts to soften that phrase because it seems to be a little bit harsh, but fact of the matter, that's what happened. And now there are reports of a list that was found on the shooter that had names of other Congress persons. There were 3 other names, and according to the report that these officials were notified, it's just not right that somebody's out there targeting just because they aren't happy with the situation. You have to wonder if there's something a little bit more at stake. Now, one thing I think is very important is that this human trafficking issue that I've talked about and I'll continue to talk about, it's very significant to what is going on right now in the world and the battle that is being fought. Because right after Jeff Sessions was sworn in, Donald Trump signed an executive order to combat human trafficking. In the months that have followed, there have been thousands. It's reported now over 3,000 pedophiles removed from the streets and hundreds of children rescued. We're not hearing this on the mainstream channels. And you have to ask yourself why, because this is important news. And the reason is because there are some limits on what they're even going to report, because they themselves are taking their marching orders. And some of those who are giving the orders are some of those who are involved in some of these really despicable things that are going on. You know, some of the evidence that has come out of the WikiLeaks dumps related to Hillary and Podesta and the Clinton Foundation, it really kind of ties them into some of these human trafficking organizations. There's various other organizations that are happening that, you know, are being looked at and are of concern. But the bottom line is it's being taken care of whether or not people are finding out. So I think that's a real good thing. So I think we should just, you know, I keep bringing it up because I want to hear more people aware that this is happening. And I think there's going to be a lot of people surprised when this does finally come to light of actually how big this problem is and the people that are out there in society that are involved. That's why you're not hearing about it. You know, that's why those who over the years who have investigated such things usually have ended up dead. You know, there's certain topics that the powers that be are really protective of, and, you know, this is certainly one of them. You know, so the other thing that I've been talking about has been the issue of what's going on with Islam and the concerns that we have over here in America about that. Because we have these orders and these decisions from the administration about ways to deal with it, but then we have these judges in these various circuit courts that are making decisions otherwise. And now it's going to go on to the Supreme Court because this is a very important issue. And so you have to ask yourself, and I, you know, look at this issue like many people have of what's really going on here. There's a lot of misunderstanding about what's going on. And I think as Americans, we really need to pay attention to what's going on and educate ourselves just a little bit. You know, we need to educate ourselves just a little bit about what's taking place because we think we know. And the bottom line is this. In another country, large groups of people, 1.2 billion, according to the size of members of Islam, that whole 1.2 billion were raised from the time that they were small children to believe in the teachings of their prophet, Muhammad. That's all that they know their entire lives. Now you take those people who were raised there, living in that environment, believing that, and you take those people and you relocate them, or they are relocated to another country like America. And the people in America have completely opposite values and ways of doing things than the people who just arrived. So now there's a problem because the people who just arrived, they don't want to do anything any different because they don't know anything any different. Because their prophet Muhammad is the example that is followed. Yet he is a pedophile. He is a murderer. He is a rapist. He was a thief. He is not, by any stretch of the imagination, a role model that one would be following. But this is who they are following, and this is the model. And so that is very dangerous for the world. And as I was talking about yesterday, and I'll say again until people really understand, that when the invasion that Muhammad and his followers went on, it began with them going into a location as refugees. In 622 AD, refugees. And then eventually they attacked, they took over. The people that they didn't kill became their slaves, and then they moved on. And from time to time to time, they entered places going in, oftentimes as refugees, Trojan horses. So flash forward to 2017, and we wonder why we're concerned about this issue with refugees. Well, the reason is because we know that the bad guys who want to come to America to commit jihad, we know that they are sneaking in as refugees. How do we know this? Because they've been doing this for 1,500 years, since 622. Was it 1,700? So this is not something that should surprise us. This should be something that we should understand. This is the way that the opponent moves. And the actions, and if you study, you simply see that that's the whole idea, is to go into various locations and countries and conquer them and expand. And when you hear the stories that are coming out, you find them easily online, all about simply telling the people that they are there, that they are going to either kill them or they're going to breed them out of existence. You see what's going on in Germany, Sweden, no-go places. I understand up in Minnesota, there's places like that already, no-go zones. Up in Dearborn, Michigan, they've got populations out there that are like that. I mean, that's not good when the ideology is the opposite of yours. And what does that mean, ideology? It means what they believe. Okay, so you have people who were raised in a different setting who believe in the Prophet Muhammad. But here in America, we believe in many different beings. One of those is Jesus Christ. Well, Islam, they don't believe the same thing about Jesus Christ because they don't believe that Allah had children. Therefore, it's blasphemous to believe that Jesus was his son. And so therein lies the problem. And that's why there's this, those people aren't going to change their mind on their belief because that's how they've been raised since the time they were born and to the time they came over to this country. And you got people that have been here in this country, even though that they've come into this country, doesn't mean that they don't have some particular agenda. Have you heard of the Muslim Brotherhood? I'm sure you have, unless, we haven't been paying attention. But the Muslim Brotherhood has been in America with a plan to take over America. And it was a 30-year plan. You can go find it online. I've got the, tweets up here, firstcontactradio.com. You can go find. I've got a long list of stuff, plans. And the way that they were going to start, it wasn't going to be a major attack. It was a slow time evolution that involved going into the colleges first and changing the thoughts of the students, going into the high schools after that. That's why there's these young kids coming out of these school systems with different mindsets. That's why we're hearing more and more stories across the country where grade schools are even teaching things like Sharia law because this is slowly creeping in. Here's a website. This is one I think that people should know about. It's actually called Creeping Sharia. creepingsharia.wordpress.com. I got it right on the Twitter feed. It says right here, what is your Muslim Brotherhood? What is the Muslim Brotherhood doing in your state? You better find out before it's too late. And on the right-hand side, let me read this here. It says this article is about a year old, but the list at the end provides some insight to just how pervasive one terror-linked Sharia-spreading Muslim organization in the U.S. source. So what is the Muslim Brotherhood doing in your state? All right. It says, I follow most Muslim Brotherhood organizations in America on social media. I follow Muslim Brotherhood mosques, CARE National, as well as CARE state branches. And I follow ICNA, ISNA, and MPAC, all powerful MB groups that recruit activists for the pro-Muslim agenda in America. I also follow several of the Muslim student organizations at the top universities, MIT, Harvard, Georgetown, Yale, and others. There are thousands of activist groups with thousands of members who are actively promoting an anti-American, pro-Muslim agenda both nationally and in your state. All of these organizations have powerful media campaigns. Some even have journalistic guides for your local TV stations and newspapers. The guides instruct the media on political correctnesses. For example, never use the word terrorist, Islam, or Muslim when reporting crimes or possible terror attacks, or even when these attacks are committed by Muslims. Most of all, mosques in America have programs that promote conversions to Islam in poor neighborhoods, prisons, and also many mosque communities. Target women at homeless shelters or battered wife facilities. At first glance, you think these mosques are helping the poor and the homeless, the battered, but at a closer look, you will follow the progress of these programs as I see Islamic classes being given in poorer neighborhoods and at homeless shelters, and recognize that vulnerable sectors of our society are being targeted for conversions to Islam. Knowledge is power. Know what the Muslim Brotherhood is doing in your state. So, and here we have lists of CARE organizations, and you can go down. Every state is represented here. See, on the right-hand side to the top, you've got a location where you can select your state. So let me just go select it randomly. Just select California here. Okay, it shows me 480. 480. So, first one, California Muslim refugee serving terror sentence tries to kill prison warden. San Diego, parents sue school over terror-linked Islamic anti-bullying program. Another one, citizens shame school board over terror-linked pro-Islam public school policy. Sacramento special visa Afghans want continued growth of their community. All right, let's take another look at another place other than California, because let's just start here with Alabama. 40 in Alabama. Alabama DMV, only Muslims can cover their hair for IDs. Christians cannot. Alabama immigrant grocery store owner sentenced, ordered to pay $5.2 million in food stamp fraud. And all of these are links to stories where you can go and find out exactly what was going on here. But see what's going on? It's a normalization of this Sharia that's creeping into our society. And there are those who say, oh, this is Islamophobic to talk about this. Well, you know what? If we don't talk about it, then we might be regretting that and thinking that we should have been talking about it sooner, especially since we're seeing other countries and the problems that they're having. You know, we're not stupid. There's too many smart people in this country. And so just because we've been led down a path doesn't mean that we have to stick to that location that we're headed. And see, that's where I think it's so important that Hillary Clinton didn't get into office and Donald Trump did. Because Hillary was going down that same path. She was taking the same connections and having involvements with the Muslims and the terrorist organizations more specifically. And so she would have allowed that in. So Muslim Brotherhood plan, 30 years. 30-year plan to take over America. That 30-year period of time comes to an end in 2020. It means there's 3 more years to go. That means if they've been working on this plan for 27 years, that means there's 27 years of ideas and persons embedded here in the United States of America. How many of those are radicalized? How many of those are out there preparing to jump out? We've seen a couple here, a couple there. So for these reasons, this is why the immigration issues are important. Americans want to be safe. Everybody wants to be safe. You can't tell me somebody does not want to be safe. And so that's what we're trying to do. That's what the president is doing, keeping people safe by saying the countries where there's a lot of terrorist activity going on and the potential for people to sneak into our country, we want to be extra careful on checking the people coming in to make sure only the people that need our help are coming in and the ones that are sneaking in don't get by. That's all they want to say. Okay? It shouldn't be any more difficult to understand. People watch television shows where these kind of things happen and people protect themselves. People play video games where these kind of things, it's not in your mindset by any stretch of the imagination. Okay? It's simple protection. You don't let the bad guys in. Because once the bad guys get in, then you got to employ a different plan and things have to be put on hold until you get the bad guys out. Because all the bad guys do is disrupt good people trying to do the things that they want to do. And so that's all that we're doing here. But this is a very important issue, this whole Muslim issue. That's why it's been so out there. And Barack Hussein Obama, he was a big instrument in a lot of that occurring by the regulations he put in, by the executive orders. I mean, he was their guy. That's why when people say who is the founder of ISIS, his name is one of those names that is connected to that position because he seemed to be. And if we look from a perspective that is a biblical perspective of what's going on in this situation, and we have stories in the Bible and phrases like Antichrist, well, we could look at what's going on in the world and see if there are any experiences like that. Antichrist. Well, we have groups of people who believe in the Christ. So if you believe in that, then you're not anti. But then you have a large group of people who don't believe in that at all. There's Islam, because of that's just not their belief system. So that would be Antichrist. So simple understanding their ideology helps us understand what their role would be if you were to assign a role. And if that is the Antichrist religion, an ideology, and you would look at who was the one who was most involved with that role of bringing that in, well, that role seems to be well suited for Barack Obama. And if you look further at the story, we see a world that is very much like a multi-tentacled, no pun intended, beast that is out there that is trying to grab a hold of everything. And that beast, we could see it's the media. Look how the media is. We hear Sean Hannity talk about the groups that are out there to take down Trump. He's right on about those groups. You got the deep state, members that are still embedded from Obama's regime, and the regime that was wanting to really change America and take it over, still embedded in leaking out information and working to sabotage what's happening. And you got media organizations which are helping them. You got inside members at their own party doing it. And you got the Democrats. You got shooters out there shooting at them. It's pretty crazy. It's very criminal. If we were to take this whole thing and script it into a movie, it would make quite the crime story, wouldn't it? I think we really need to take a look at what's really taking place around us, my friends. I think that we're in a very precarious time, and we can only pretend to be stupid and ignorant for so long, especially when we aren't. Because at this point, that's all it really is, just stupid and ignorance. Because we could see, many people can see what's going on. Many people can't. So I guess we have to people who are seeing have to work double time for those who aren't. All right. What was some of the other things here? Oh yeah, this article here: Dem staffers booing at the baseball game. You heard that one? You know, here you go to the game. You're expecting this is going to be a moment of unity. The president comes on the screen. He gives a nice talk about unity, and then you have Democratic staffers booing. So that really kind of overshadows what it is that they are trying to do, and it just kind of lets you know that they really have no remorse at all. You know, and still hoping and praying for Representative Scalise. There were reports today about his health had some degree of improvement to it. There's also some concern, to be quite honest, about what's going on with him, because there seems to be, some indication. There's an article here at State of the Nation that talks about it. Pull this up right here. It says Patriots need to saturate the internet with the expose on deep state. Everything points to Congressman Steve Scalise being Seth Riched, in other words, shot and then murdered in the hospital. Now, this isn't a really popular topic because people don't want people to know about this, but, this is what happened. It says, State of the Nation has watched with great concern the deterioration of Steve Scalise since he was admitted to the hospital in Washington, D.C. The whole shooting incident has revealed itself to be fastidiously directed CIA black operation with at least two goals as follows. First, it was a very serious and personal warning to the third-ranking member of the House leadership, Representative Steve Scalise of Louisiana. Secondly, it was meant to a warning to every other member of Congress not to buck the deep state agenda. They all know exactly what the agenda is. Special note, Steve State is on the ground wounded for a period of time. One congressman said it felt like an eternity. Steve could have been taken out any time, but he wasn't. Message from Deep State: every single congressman is a sitting duck. They are not safe anywhere, not even with the security detail in tow, as Steve had assigned to him as majority whip. In other words, Deep State owns the operatives on every square inch of Washington, D.C., 24/7. Representative Scalise was a fierce patriot and a true conservative. His many signature causes show him to be the real deal, an archenemy of the deep state who was no friend of the rhinos in Congress. Not only was Scalise the highest-ranking elected official from the Tea Party in the U.S. Congress, having attained the position of majority whip, he was also a no-nonsense kind of guy. You know how the real gutsy Italian Americans be when they latch a righteous cause. Says, well, the righteous cause that Steve has advocated against human trafficking. The following video portrays just how his advocacy is in regard, which also happens to be the most radioactive issue throughout the USA in light of the Pizzagate scandal blowing up wide just before the election. Was the Berniak shooting really a program assassin from the CIA's MKUltra Monarch control program? The mainstream media did some somersaults to project the image of an ultra-liberal, Trump-hating, left-wing nutcase for the mass shooter, James T. Hodgkinson. However, the MSM narrative is not stacking up with the most likely reality of the shooting spree. It appears that Hodgkinson went there to specifically shoot Scalise, the highest-ranking congressman on the ball field, and the preceding video clearly demonstrate why that is the case. Pizzagate. For those who are uninitiated in the realm of the most powerful control mechanism that deep state has, it is known as pedogate. There are other means of threats or methods of coercion that the deep state has at its disposal as effective as pedogate, and everyone in Washington, D.C. knows it. Steve Scalise appears to have opened further this Pandora's box. The human trafficking legislation that he was pushing is by far the most uncompromising and severe ever been floated in U.S. Congress. We have a link to an article here, Combating Human Trafficking, with all about Steve Scalise. This is his Congress website, looks like. It says, if ever prayer was needed to preserve the life of Steve Scalise, it is right now. The following report about President Trump's visit to the bedside indicates why. Key point, also June 14th, 1946, is Donald Trump. It's his birthday. He has a special kinship with Representative Steve Scalise, especially because of their shared political agenda and patriotic orientation. Just like Kathy Griffin's beheading video was used to send an extremely threatening message to the POTUS, so is the birthday present sent by the deep state mafia style. Steve was shot playing ball on Wednesday, June 14th. Truly, Steve Scalise is one of those very few elected representatives at the federal level who deserves our prayers and blessings, love, and support. Conclusion. Unfortunately, the conclusion of this ongoing Second American Revolution has no end in sight. The last conservative Italian-American VIP who was taken out by deep state went by the name of Anton Scalia, an extraordinarily passionate U.S. Supreme Court justice. Now they make a cowardly attempt at the life of another beloved Italian-American U.S. Representative, Steve Scalise. How does this happen within such a short span of time? Both men were well known for their exceptional courage and intestinal fortitude. However, it was the fact that they each served as lightning rods for a huge swath of the body politic that made them so dangerous. In their own representative realms, they both functioned as political philosopher kings. One is now gone, although his constitutional spirit remains. The second is barely with us. The powers that be have seen to it that so many of our brightest lights are snuffed out when they are at brilliance, peak brilliance. Deep state has always been more fearful of men and women like these than others. Let us pray fervently that Steve will remain with us to finish his great work and noble mission of restoring the American constitutional republic. Okay, so this is very certainly one way to take a good look at this. For those who aren't following the deep state and the methods, this might seem foreign. But for anybody who has spent any degree of time studying the New World Order agenda, this certainly ties right in and is something that has been understood, has been going on for quite some time. You know, you have to remember it was George Bush Sr. who was the one who first mentioned the idea of the New World Order. And all these years later, Hillary Clinton is the one who is going to see that New World Order finalized. And we could see the full circle moment when who did George Bush Sr. show up to support? Hillary Clinton. Why? Because she was completing the agenda that he had put together. Was it going on before him? It sure was. He was just now advancing the next level. So here we are, and we've got the deep state, which is just following along from the agenda that has been going on for a while, which is about subverting America. So I think this is real important. I think we do need to pray. I think there's some of the concern, certainly, is that anyone who's following the story about Seth Rich and the investigation about what's going on, and there truly is an investigation. You may not be hearing about it on the news, but there are those who are definitely looking into this and finding out truths about what went on. The DNC is very scared about the truth coming out, so they have been involved with assassinations of those who were trying to bring it out. Seth Rich was one of those that was assassinated. And then you've got those attorneys who ended up dead in the beach up in Debbie Wasserman Schultz district. Debbie Wasserman Schultz is being investigated and sued. She was served papers by a man, if I recall, Sean Lucas. And he served papers. You can find the video of him online. A couple days afterwards, he died. And this was all within the same month as Seth Rich. So you've got a lot of conspiracy taking place out there. And even though we're not hearing about from the mainstream media, there still is investigation taking place. So rest assured out there, because I talk to a lot of people, you can find conversations online that are taking place every single day about these topics that are serious conversations about them that are not the same ones you're hearing on the mainstream media stations. And so if you really kind of pay attention, some of the forums, the Donald, you can find a tremendous amount there. 4chan, politically correct section, you go there, poll. Godlike Productions, InfoWars, Breitbart, on and on. There's plenty of sources out there. I've got all these links up the radio station here, or the page, firstcontactradio.com. That gives you an opportunity to check it out. So, what else we got going on over here? Let me take a look here. I think that's the Muslim one. Look into that. The link's up here. We need to understand, pray for the congressman. Oh, I know where I was going with when we look into the Seth Rich case and some of the characters that are involved, there's some suspicions about the doctors who were involved and the suspicious way in which he died, or the perhaps suspicious way in which he died. And it appears that the doctor involved happened to be the same doctor who was involved working on Scalise. So for those who have been looking at this investigation are concerned, because the feeling is that Seth Rich was shot on the streets, but then was finished off in the hospital. And the concern is this was quite possibly the same doctor or medical team that was working on Scalise has worked on Seth Rich, that it's hopeful that that is not the same situation that's going to occur here. So that is very important that we don't, that doesn't happen. So let's be hopeful. Sometimes it's just rumors and thoughts and what have you. But there's a lot going on. I know that we see things one way because the media tells us one thing. But, for those out there who are liberal and have been following the liberal agenda, let me ask you this. Over the course of this last 2 years now, since Donald Trump first announced and began this journey, during this time, the media got it completely wrong about everything they said about him. From the polls, they told you he was going to lose. They told you Hillary was going to win. They showed you fake polls. They misled you the entire time. Why do you still listen to anything that they have to say? Why would you still trust? And I think if people just kind of turn around. So that kind of brings us around full circle. I got a caller in here. Let me jump over. Hello.
Chris from California here.
Hey, what's going on there, Chris from California? How you doing tonight?
Doing great. You're out here fighting again for all of us freedom fighters?
Yeah, just rambling on about, what's going on. I was talking about this latest article here from State of the Nation, all about the shooting and the connections and the concerns of Seth Rich and the doctors involved, and just a lot of shenanigans that we really have to keep an eye on out there.
Well, Trump knows what's going on. He knows Sava is compromised, to say the least. And, when he goes into the hospital in stable condition, he's fine. He just got shot in the hip. All of a sudden, he's critical. And then we see with the hospital he's at, we see the doctor who's attending to him. The whole thing stinks to high heaven.
Yep, sure does. Hey, just another thought. Did you hear it? The other day, Jason Chavez gave a talk, and at the end of his talk, during the course of his time, he was brought up facial recognition. And it was like a warning. So he goes about the face. Today, there was an announcement made. I didn't catch the airport, that there's an airport that is now, they said, this new airport in a new way that people will be able to get onto the plane, facial recognition. So they announced it yesterday, or got brought up yesterday, and today they're rolling it out. The other day, Facebook announced we were talking about the technology of the robot. I just saw a commercial here where they're showing one of these robots, or actually a news segment where they're showing one of these robots now. So things seem to kind of be moving and connecting out there pretty good.
Well, they realize that they have to speed up the process because humanity is waking up at an accelerated rate. And at the same rate that you can be enlightened, at the same rate you can also be stupefied. You can be made ignorant at that same accelerated rate. They realize this, and they see the trouble ahead. They know what's on the horizon, and it's all part of the Zionist plan is to bring about the apocalypse, the end of days, their Messiah, whoever he may be.
Exactly. Crazy, crazy, crazy times, but interesting indeed. It's all that talk yesterday. I didn't realize about the laughing until today that they were, or the booing that they were doing there. And
Unity,
and then they're booing. It's like, what kind of unity is that? It's just there's too much anger. It's sometimes, I don't know, maybe it'll find its release. People go out and have a barbecue or something.
Well, the left, they're victimized, so they don't believe in friends. They don't believe in making friends. They believe in the world is against them. They're a victim of the world, and it's disease. I mean, anything in life, when you become a victim, you automatically give up control of your own life. You say that somebody else has the control, somebody else has the power, and they've made me willing and powerless in my own shoes. And so that's the real thing, is people need to get past the victimization in this country.
Yeah. Do you hear the latest stuff about Antifa and what they're doing with the dogs?
Yes.
Story today.
I saw something about poisoning dog treats.
Not poisoning, putting nails in them or tacks. There was one report of a woman who, a USPS guy was arrested because this guy put one dog treat down that had nails or tacks in it, and she was concerned that her dog might have eaten one already. She took him to the hospital, got him x-rayed, and sure enough, there was a nail inside the stomach. Fortunately, didn't hurt the dog, but this is what they're doing, passing around, put nails and stuff. I mean, that's a dangerous group that's starting to do that.
Looking for Trump flags outside of the house, going in, finding out if they have dogs, giving them nail-ridden dog treats.
Yeah. Or not even just watching them down the street, or going where groups, because they're saying that they want to kill fascist dogs.
Wow.
And
so is this just strictly white people?
This is the Antifa group. They just want to, anyone that they feel is fascist, this is what they're sharing and spreading through the social networks to each other, how to go about putting these nails and tacks to kill dogs, the fascists.
Well, so poison would be a more humane way.
More humane way, but
or,
but neither way is good. I mean, so if people have dogs
the left has lost their mind.
Yeah,
the left has lost their mind. I mean, it's complete lunacy. It's terrorism now. What they're doing is they're normalizing a terrorist mentality in America.
Yeah, that's it. That's exactly it. Terrorist mentality. Well, there was a great one today of a guy that was an Antifa guy, had a knife at an event up at Evergreen College, but he got citizen arrested, and it looked like a group of about 12 people got him down. He was held down, and when the police arrived, they picked him up and escorted him over there. So people are fighting back, and that's good to see.
Wow.
It's good to see. But it's how we got to this point.
Well, it's always good to see 5 Trump supporters taking on 100 Antifa, and that's about what the vision is. One guy can take on 20 of them manlets and he/she's. But I mean, it's just it's a sad, sad day. I have friends of mine that we've been friends for a lot of years. We have a lot of things in common. We have a lot of things that we like. But yet to hear them talk politics and to hear them see what they believe is right and wrong and what is the truth and what is not truth, it's stunning. Here we are living in the same country, and now we have 2 wholly different views of what is going on. I mean, it boggles the mind. It really does.
It does. I think we're at a time in life where we need to all step back, take a deep breath. We need to make a decision, and as a society, where we're going, because we've got a group of society that has decided that they're going to go one way, and another group is digging their heels in, and they don't want to go, and they want to go another way, and they don't just want to go another way; they want to fight, and that's not going to go good if it goes into that direction for anyone.
And yeah, they may be bulking up. They may be doing their thing. They may be getting ready. They may be shooting bottles in the backyard. But they don't have that red blood, white and blue America in our soul that makes us care so much for our country. To them, they can have it or leave it. To them, the destruction of America doesn't really bother them so much as long as they get to partake in the chaos. So we've got to really be mindful. We got to really talk to our people and really don't, use techniques in which you empower people with knowledge instead of putting them down. When we encounter a leftist and they have complete opposite views of us, it's hard. I mean, it's very hard for you not to just explode on them and say, what the heck are you talking about? But in reality, we have to be cunning, and we have to say and challenge their mind and drop those red pills in a sense that will really put us over and make our argument really solidify to what we call normies or the plebs out there. Because we got to keep waking people up. People were woken up during the election and saw Crooked Hillary for what she was, Crooked Hillary. I mean, think about that. You have a whole machine trying to make somebody's public image into one thing, and then you have a counterinsurgency trying to tell the truth. Well, we succeeded in that. I think we have to keep going and keep pushing that. I think that's the trick there.
Yeah, you're right. Because the opponent, who they've labeled themselves out to be very clearly, they have no intentions right now to go along or get along, despite their cries that they're tolerant. And so it's not only do we have to work to make things right, but we have to keep them from destroying anything along the way.
Absolutely.
Which makes no sense at all, because that's completely counterproductive.
It is, and you look at pictures and paintings of people, soldiers coming home, fighting for their country, to all their fellow countrymen, and everybody focused on the same goal of victory and supporting your fellow countrymen. And you don't see that at all today. We can't even get through a simple ball game without having some kind of hatred and vitriol for the opposite of our fellow countrymen. I mean, politics aside, the Republicans and Democrats have shown that they're playing on the same side. I mean, we saw that in the election. You know, both sides gained up on Donald Trump. That showed you that right there that the Republicans are not Republicans and the Democrats are not Democrats. They all play for the same team.
Yep.
So wake up, America. We're the only ones that have the power. You know, a well-informed citizenry is the only way that the Constitution can work.
That's it. You know, this has been going on for a while. This isn't something that happened. This is going back from the time that we decided to leave, 1776. They've been fighting, and it's been a battle. So,
absolutely. Well, I know you're coming to your close here, Josh. Thank you for all that you do.
Right on. Thanks. I'm glad you called. Hey, I'll be next week, Monday through Friday, 8 to 9. So we'll talk more.
Will do. Freedom fighters out there.
All right, all right, Chris. All right, Chris. Have a good night. Thanks for calling in.
Thank you.
Good night. All right. So we are coming to the close of everything in just a little bit, but you know, I think what we have to remember in all of this, there's a lot going on. We can easily get caught up in it, but there's more things going on than just that storyline. We have to pull ourselves back and look at the overall big picture. What is the energy happening around us, and how is that affecting us? Brings me back, you know, to the beginning, and ultimately it's about the intelligent force of life. I call that God. Many people call that God. Great Spirit, Divine Providence, many names that we like to have. But it's an intelligent source, and when we connect into that source, you know, we find that everything smooths out the way it needs to be. So as you go for it this weekend, I just hope everyone has a great, awesome weekend. I will be back next week, all Monday through Friday, 8 to 9. So hopefully we'll get some more calls going and talk about what's taking place in the world and see if we can figure some things out. Maybe stimulate conversations to happen all over the place about all of these issues. Because if we talk about them, we don't have problems. We can work it out. We just got to talk it out. We can't ignore. We cannot ignore, that's for sure. All right. So, once again, thank you so much for being here. Be back next week. The website's firstcontactradio.com. I'll be back next week. Love you. Keep loving each other. Peace. I'm out of here.
Hi, you've reached the High Fashion Hotline.
Hi, sweetie.
Dad? I told you not to call me at work.
But I need some style advice.
Just go to Old Navy.
Old Navy?
Yep, all men's styles are on sale now, up to 50% off, with shorts from $12, active from $8, and tees from $5 at Old Navy and OldNavy.com.
$5?
Plus, the whole store is up to 50% off, so you can get amazing styles for everyone, even me.
Going to Old Navy now.
Oh, and make sure you get something for Father's Day, my treat.
Thanks.
High Fashion, Old Navy. Valid 6/12 to 6/20. Excludes clearance, gift cards, register lane items, jewelry today and 2-day only deals.
How about a store that has farmers market freshness, thousands of club sizes, plus everyday groceries and party supplies, where prices are up to 25% lower than supermarkets? That's Smart and Final. Guaranteed high quality foods, organics, local products, and really cool stuff you can't find anywhere else. It's not a supermarket, it's Smart and Final. Now, selected 12 to 16 ounce packs of Jennie-O fresh ground turkey are $2.47 each, limit 4, and 2-pound packs of fresh strawberries are $2.49 each at Smart and Final.